Hello. My name is Mary Ellen Bruscotter. I'm the director of Chalice Players, and I want to welcome you to this presentation. If you're new to CBUUF, we have this as a part of our service. This is the 15th year for Chalice Players. The words you will hear were written by our actors. They're based on the tenets in the Constitution and current information aired in the media. The 10 original amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, were written because some people said that too much power went to the government and not enough protection was given to the ordinary people. As you know, the Bill of Rights was a list of rights that the government can never take away from us. The First Amendment promises that the government cannot get involved in religion. It also promises that people are free to express their opinion and ideas. Newspapers, including the New York Times and Los Angeles Times, exist to report the truth and to defy censorship. And we are grateful for a free press. What does that mean for Chalice Players? We believe that our fellowship exists in a country where jokes about the president will not land us in jail, even though we still have to be careful not to lose our tax-exempt status as a religious institution. Theater has always been a forum for giving us a way to see ourselves in a cracked mirror and to consider how history repeats itself. On that note, we proudly present No Fake News Here.
Like many of you, I read the newspaper daily. I like to feel the paper in my hands and turn the pages and decide which news article or editorial I'd like to read. Granted, the sections have gotten smaller and the cost higher, but I won't give it up. I see it as an educational donation. I don't like to view it on my computer monitor or my smartphone because I don't like to scroll down to finish a story. But some of those that love the internet say, it works just fine. So when the term fake news appeared, I wondered if I had somehow been hoodwinked into reading stories that were somehow untrue. Who was creating their mirror of the facts? Were they biased? Were they cynical? Were they elitist? Were they pathetic reporters whom the president referred to as being very dishonest, to the point of calling them the most dishonest human beings on the planet? I wasn't the only one that was surprised. With the trust in the news media at its lowest level ever, as reported by a Gallup poll, we Chalice Players became concerned. Americans no longer knew who to believe. After much soul searching, we decided to give our gratitude for a free press, while still questioning whether the media is doing its job as well as it should. 3 news stories written by our members will show you that muddying the facts is still possible. But in the long run, we celebrate the free and responsible search for truth and meaning as Unitarian Universalists. Before going any further, we want you to hear from the man in charge. Has been reported at 3 a.m. in the morning, President Trump frequently wanders the White House with his bag of Cheetos and his smartphone. Apparently, the small print doesn't bother him.
Whoa, what is this strange building with writing on the walls? Where am I? And look at all these people. Well, there could be more, but... Am I dreaming? What is this? Give that to me. Conejo Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Let's see what these people believe in. Respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. Oh yeah, I totally agree with this. Someone told me that men should have dominion over the earth and all the fishes in the sea. You know, that's why I got rid of all those pesky environmental laws, so we could have that dominion over the earth and the fishes in the sea. No wonder the Christians love me. I must see what else these people believe. The inherent worth and dignity of every person. I agree with this in a bigly way. Everybody has worth, some more than others. And for those who can't afford health care, dignity in dying works for me. I don't know about these folks. Okay, justice, equality, and compassion in human relations. I wonder who makes this stuff up. I agree, though. My immigration plan ensures that all foreigners will be treated with compassion and justice, and all Americans will be protected, especially with my very, very big wall, the one the Mexicans are paying for. The use of the democratic process in society. Absolutely. I was elected by the vast majority of people in this country in a democratic process that was in no way, no way, influenced by an outside government. No interference. Why are you laughing? Security. I'm looking at you. Now, what is that thing written on that wall over there? I love walls. Our mission is to nurture spiritually courageous people who transform the world through justice and compassion. Well, I agree with this in a bigly way. I mean, I did appoint Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, and I'm sure he'll treat everyone with justice and compassion, especially true Americans. You know, they think I'm crazy because I wear these extra long ties. Everything I do has a purpose, even the tie. Pay no attention to that. Someone will pick it up. Has anyone seen Pedro? Hey. Bad Unitarian. Has anyone seen Pedro? I haven't seen Pedro. Pedro hasn't been around for a while, but someone will pick that up. A free and responsible search for truth and meaning. I am so hugely doing this. Not that I have a lot of gratitude for freedom in the press, but I love Twitter. I have sought out the beacons of truth in this country, and those are the ones I'll grant interviews with. None of this CNN, MSNBC, LA Times, none of that stuff. Fake news. Did you see what the LA Times wrote about me? Did you see that? They called me incompetent. Lies, fake news. I'm gonna fire Pedro.
The first report is about national health care. Here is Alice C. to tell it like it is.
While we are grateful for the free and unfettered press, where healthcare is concerned, we seem to be stumbling. Our news networks have fallen down the proverbial rabbit hole while trying to cover the crisis in American healthcare. Our press corps suffers as Trump did when he said, "It's an unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated. Who knew?" That's where I come in, to tell it like it is. I'm Alice C. That's C spelled S-E-E. Journalists, listen up.
One pill makes you small.
The one pill makes you smaller option. The press, especially Breitbart News, calls out to people who want less government involvement in their lives. But to what end? This is the motto of those who think that ordering people to buy a private product is a basic infringement on individual rights. Secondly, they find the idea of paying for other people's health care an affront. People who are not able to take care of themselves should not expect responsible citizens to bail them out. Their way of thinking unfairly affects people of color, people with low incomes, and people in rural areas from getting reasonable health care. But of course, those people deserve what they get because they are unemployed or underemployed.
One pill makes you larger.
The one pill that makes you tall option. What the free press needs to repeat to the public is the best way to fix the healthcare system is to adopt a single-payer system. America already has single-payer systems in place: Medicare, Medicaid, and federal and state employee benefit programs. Remember, the government is not setting the cost of healthcare. The insurance companies do that because they are for-profit companies with stockholders to please. America's healthcare system is the most expensive in the world. Why should an MRI, which costs an average of $363 in France, cost $1,373 here in the United States? Where is that money going? The press could be asking those questions, but they don't.
Don't do anything at all.
And the one pill doesn't do anything at all. Why can't the press give us more history of the facts? Can't they do more than rip and read from the newswire? Insurance costs were spiraling out of control long before Obamacare. Obama tried to slow rising costs and to cover more Americans, and many people breathed easier. Then in comes Trump and immediately pushed for his American Health Care Act, which was pulled in late March because it simply did not have the votes to pass. It died a quick death, killed by friendly fire from the House Freedom Caucus. They just wanted to see Obamacare shut down completely, and this bill wasn't drastic enough for them. Their point of view is, if the masses cannot afford health care, just let them die in the streets. They tried again in late April and failed. This whole charade was reinforced by a chorus of older Americans who believe, I got mine and I don't give a damn about anybody else. Now the House has passed Trump Care 2.0, which strips protection from the most vulnerable, those with pre-existing conditions and disabled children. Rates will skyrocket for older people, and women will effectively pay more than men for coverage. But we have just begun to fight. It took them 5 months to get this far. The next steps are harder still.
Go ask Alice when she's 10.
So what does Alice say? On the right hand, we know that getting the government involved in anything screws it up, because only free enterprise works. Obamacare is fascism. We should all just have free, tax-free health savings accounts, like Whole Foods CEO John Mackey asserts. Now, that might work if everybody was working. On the left hand, we could implement a single-payer system to get a handle on healthcare spending. We could control costs if the government set rates for procedures, services, and drugs. And finally, we could simplify coverage options. These steps would surely help the poor, the self-employed, and the elderly. Really, the majority of Americans. People who complain that their insurance went to hell in a handbasket and that their premiums are through the roof should stop blaming government and start calling out the insurance companies as the real culprits. When will our president get it? Maybe when we simplify the argument so the press can get it. What I always say, and this is important, eat more chocolate. It's good for you. This is Alice C., auntie to Charles, Florence, and Mary, signing off.
The second report centers on the border wall controversy. Here is one reporter's version of building the wall.
We don't need no education.
Hello, I'm Laura Ingalls, host of The Laura Ingalls Show. I'm delighted to be on Fox and Friends to talk about immigration. This is a complex topic, and I think it's important that we in the media do a good job covering it. Before the election of President Trump, I drew a roar of applause when I told the 2016 Republican National Convention that both my parents were Polish immigrants. My parents were legally granted citizenship after a long and difficult application process. However, other people get entry visas and simply stay here without renewing. In addition, a horde of illegals, primarily from Central America, but even from places as far away as Syria, Iraq, and other Muslim countries, cross our borders whenever they please. The situation in the Rio Grande River Valley area is especially out of control. We don't really know how many people enter our country, who they are, why they're here, or what they've brought with them. You may ask, why should we care? First, we want jobs in our country to go to our own people. Second, we don't want our borders open to drug cartels, habitual criminals, and most importantly, to terrorists. President Trump has promised to fix this. How, you might ask? Well, that may turn out to be yet another thing in government that isn't as easy as some of us thought. A thorough discussion in our free press could shed light on the problem, though. For instance, according to Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke, one area of dispute is where to put a wall. The first option is to build it on the Mexican side of the Rio Grande River. Critics say that Mexico would suffer ecological damage and be denied access to the river, a vital source of water for its residents and agricultural industry. Mexico would sue us, of course, and we'd end up in the International Court at The Hague for decades. The second option is to build the wall on American soil and leave the river and land owned by our citizens on the far side of the wall. U.S. citizens have already sued our government for this fiasco of eminent domain conflict, resource loss, and ecological damage. Not looking likely. The only site left is the middle of the Rio Grande. I'm no engineer, but somehow I just don't think they can make that work. Where can Trump go from here? Trump should consider the wall's long, partisan, and failed history. For instance, on October 26, 2006, President George W. Bush signed the Secure Fence Act into law, an important step towards immigration reform. He declared we'd have a 700-mile fence with 2 layers of reinforced fencing to protect the American people. Democratic senators such as Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein okayed this legislation, while even Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Hillary Clinton voted in favor of it. By the following year, however, only 35.5 miles were built before the Democratic Congress amended the act, allowing the director of the Department of Homeland Security the discretion to change the kind of barrier to suit the terrain. After that, all fence building stopped. Much of the completed 35 miles is merely single fencing or a simple car barrier you could hop over. What can Trump do to protect the American people from the immigrants who keep coming here illegally? It's really not easy, is it? It's even rumored that a serious proposal was made by a contractor for a floating wall. Well, if that did happen, it would be an even bigger economic stimulus than an ordinary wall. And we could even create long-term jobs by putting crocodiles in the water. Those crocs would need maintenance forever. It would be a triumph of American capitalism and an eighth wonder of the world. We could outdo China's Great Wall. Seriously, though. We're talking about our most vulnerable border area, and so far proposals to address the problem there are not feasible. I believe a free press is essential to publicize the detailed advantages and disadvantages of proposed solutions so we can find an acceptable one. Thanks for having me on Fox and Friends.
The third comment comes from a woman who attended the Women's March after Trump's inauguration. You decide whether she is telling the truth.
Thank you for joining us this hour. I'm Rachel Maddie. Happy Sunday. Last time I checked, we still had free press in this country. That doesn't mean you hear stories about women or their economic disparity. Why? Well, consider this. Most network presidents and most reporters and most news editors are men. If you look at a list of the most common jobs for men in this country and a list of the most common jobs for women in this country, they are two lists that have very little in common, it turns out. The jobs that we do in this day and age are still sort of segregated by gender. But whether you have a job that is male-dominated or a job that is female-dominated, there is one thing that just about every single job in America has in common. Dudes get paid more for doing it. If you are a driver, men get paid more. If you are a manager, men get paid more. If you are a janitor, men get paid more. If you are a retail salesperson, men get paid more. If you're a sales rep, if you're a chief executive, a security guard, or a police officer, in all of those cases, men get paid more. And the most common occupations for men in this country, women lag behind what men get paid for doing the same work. It is also true in the most common jobs that women have in this country. If you are a secretary, or a teacher, or a nurse, or a receptionist, or if you wait tables, men get paid more. Again, and the most common occupations for women in this country, women lag behind what men get paid for doing the same work. Overall, when you aggregate everybody working in the economy in every job, women get paid 77 cents for every dollar that men get paid. For the same work, dudes get paid more. Coincidentally, on Equal Pay Day, Ivanka Trump tweeted, "Equal Pay Day is a reminder that women deserve equal pay for equal work. We must work to close the gender pay gap." That's nice. Has anything really changed? Lower pay is not the only challenge for women in the workplace. If you were to believe most press coverage, sexual harassment and sexual discrimination in the workplace today is a thing of the past. Is this true? Not so fast. After a series of sexual harassment claims have come out against Bill O'Reilly and been made public, our president has continued to support him. O'Reilly, through Fox News, has paid five women a whopping $13 million to settle various sexual harassment claims, according to the New York Times. O'Reilly has denied the claims have any merit. Donald Trump has said, "He's a person I know well. He's a good person. I think he shouldn't have settled. I don't think Bill did anything wrong." Trump has also thrown his support behind Roger Ailes, who faced similar accusations back in July. Trump said, "He's been a friend of mine for a long time, and I can tell you that some of the women that are complaining, I know how much he's helped them. It's very sad. because he's a very good person. I've always found him to be a very, very good person. Is it fair to judge a man by the company he keeps? These good persons? Hey, Hillary was a nasty woman. Maybe these women were nasty too. Ironically, the White House had declared April National Sexual Assault Awareness and Prevention Month. That's nice. Has anything really changed? Maybe not. Maybe. If the New York Times hadn't come out with their report, Bill O'Reilly wouldn't have lost his advertising funding, and the Murdochs, the owners of Fox News, would have ignored these women's claims. Things will only change if the press continues to talk about them. We have to believe in the ability of the free press to continue reporting about women's issues if we're going to continue towards equality. Watch this space.
Are you laughing? Security. If it's my dream, how did Maddie get in it? I'm pretty impressed by this CVUUF search for the truth. No fake news here. Maybe this is just a dream walking around this place. What is this called? Is this the Unity Church? What Unitarian, I think I'm a Unitarian. What was the second word? Universalist. Universalist, so I'm a Universalist? Or a Unitarian? Both? Probably neither. Unitarian Universalist. I guess I must be one. I think I'll call him the use from now on. Use. I thought that one up. I heard recently that they gave a sermon saying that the UUs don't preach a Christian doctrine. My son-in-law would like that, Jared Kirshner. I love the Jews. No one loves Jews more than I love Jews. You know, maybe my son Eric could do the coming of age ceremony here. Well, when he graduates out of short pants. You know, you folks recently had an installation ceremony. I read that here. Someone said that 30% of UUA clergy are women, including yours. That's what I heard. Women love me. Look at how many of them marched in my honor. Millions! Millions! With 30% women, my romantic chances are so much better here than they are at Fox News. Riley screwed that up for us.
As I said before, we UUs are grateful for a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We like to believe we are open-minded and see both sides of the question. Some people have joined groups like indivisible.com to voice their concerns to their senators and lawmakers. Others attend town hall meetings. They are willing to go past the tweets and innuendos and go straight to the source of their representation in government. Perhaps the best way. Make the news rather than read about it. You decide.